Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts. First hard fact of the day: 87 new COVID confirmations yesterday. Yesterday's Lagos number was 25. Now, I can't hear myself in the studio, so I'm hoping that tech will get in here as quickly as possible and fix that problem so that I can use the headphones in the studio and hear myself. But yes, COVID is still out there. Lagos's number was 25. Keep taking your precautions. Wear your masks when you must go out. Give gap to people. Wash your hands and sanitize as often as possible. You know, I always say that 1 million Lagosians cannot be wrong. And if you see something, say something, right? And yesterday on my way into work, I noticed that the traffic lights close to Mobile on Ozumba Mbodiwe / Lekki Ekpe, just after Oriental Hotel, wasn't working. I talked about it yesterday on the show. And today on my way in, I noticed that they had maybe switched it on or fixed it or whatever, but it's working today. So, well done to the people who work to make sure that happens. So the Ministry of Transportation, LCC, anybody whose job that is, thank you for listening and thank you for fixing that. Now let's do that for the rest of the traffic lights all over Lagos, not just the ones in bougie areas. I have a great show for you today, starting with the big three global edition. So on Fridays, we let Nigerian stories rest, and we take a look at what's happening in other parts of the world. Today, we'll go back to the UK, where the police is investigating Boris Johnson's office over lockdown parties. Then, let's talk about the coup in Burkina Faso. And then let's talk about NATO rejecting Russia's demands over Ukraine. At 4 o'clock, Agogo will be here with Public Square. And then he'll hand you over to Ifeanyi and Sam for music and moments. I love Fridays. Fridays are such a nice, step down, if you like, from all the heavy gung Nigerian stories that we do all week long. Oh, by the way, if you are 14 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, and you think you have what it takes to be our second champion of the I Beg to Differ debate tournament for Nigerian students, go to our website www.nigeriainfo.fm and register to participate. So we have the tournament coming back to your radio in March. That's March this year. That's, less than, 2 months away. So please get on our website. If you're between 14 to 16, like I said yesterday, we took your feedback last year when we did it in November. You told us, oh, this is beautiful, but we need to do different categories for different ages. So this year, we're starting with 14 to 16-year-olds. I'm already getting calls from a lot of people. They're like, now my own child is 13. My own child is 12. Don't worry. We're going to have another category later in the year as well, to accommodate younger kids. We're going to also try to do this in our station in Port Harcourt, also in our station in Abuja, and then we're going to have one national champion because we're going to bring all the champions back, including Tamvita Kaushik from last year. We'll bring all of them back to face off right here in Lagos, and then we'll crown the champion of all champions. It's going to be great. We have great plans for your kids, but we're starting with 14 to 16-year-olds. So if you have a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, get them to go to our website, www.nigeriainfo.fm, and register. You'll see topics there that you can debate. Just put your name in, put your location, put your age, your class, and then debate one of the topics that we have listed there for you. Debate for the topic, debate against the topic, and then send it in, and that's it. Very easy. We'll listen. If we like what you say on the debate, you make it into our top 16, just like we did last year. I'm really looking forward to meeting firebrand children this year, 14 to 16-year-olds. That's who we're focusing on. So again, this call is open to everybody. Whether you're in private school, you're in public school, every single person is invited to get involved in this, as long as they're 14 to 16. Yes, so that's my good deed for the day. You know the drill by now. News updates coming your way every hour on the hour. AFCON coverage will continue from 7 p.m. right here on your number one talk station. But right now, let's get into today's Big Three Global Edition. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
Global Edition on Hard Facts.
All right, let's get into today's Big Three Global Edition. Do you think that Boris Johnson should resign? That's our first question for our first story. Should Boris Johnson resign? We're streaming live on Facebook. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. I'm about to play you footage that I played for you last week. I'll play it again for you this week to remind you of how difficult things have been for Boris Johnson. That's for our first question. For our second question, how can ECOWAS and the African Union discourage coups? There's been several coups in Africa in very recent times. How can ECOWAS and the AU discourage that? Will NATO and Russia reach a deal on the Ukraine? That's my final question on today's Big Three Global Edition. As you know, on Fridays we try and let Nigerian stories rest, even though sometimes the stories that we talk about are still Nigerian stories, because maybe the Nigerian story is the biggest one in the world, or they also affect Nigeria somehow. But today we're like outside the country completely. So let's start with the first one. Yeah, the Metropolitan Police are investigating Boris Johnson's birthday party. That's our first story. We talked about this last week. Let me remind you of some of the comments we heard from members of Parliament in the UK.
That he was at a social event. That's the excuse, isn't it? Come off it. I mean, how stupid does the Prime Minister think the British people are? The worst of it is, he's already managed to completely destroy Allegra Stratton's career. He's tarnished the reputation of Lord Geit. And now he's making fools of every single MP who cheered him earlier. Every single one who goes out on the radio and television to defend this shower of shenanigans.
After months of deceit and deception, the pathetic spectacle of a man who's run out of road. His defence that he didn't realise he was at a party. It is so ridiculous that it's actually offensive to the British public. Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister's former Health Secretary broke the rules, he resigned. Yes. And the Prime Minister said he was right to do so. When the Prime Minister's spokesperson laughed about the rules being broken, she resigned. And the Prime Minister accepted that resignation. Why does the Prime Minister still think that the rules don't apply to him?
The public overwhelmingly think that the Prime Minister should resign. Trust has been lost, and the public will not forgive or forget. If the Prime Minister has no sense of shame, then the Tory backbenchers must act to remove him. They know the damage is done. This weak and contentious Prime Minister can no longer limp on. The message from the public is clear. Remove this unfit Prime Minister from office and do it now.
Mr. Speaker, we've all had Prime Ministers that we disagreed with or we didn't rate, but there's never been one that debased the office in the way that this. He's now forced to lie down in the back of his car to keep away from photographers.
He's not apologised, Mr. Speaker, for breaking the rules and breaking the law.
All right, there you have them. Members of Parliament criticizing their Prime Minister. We talked about it last week. Last year, at the height of the pandemic, the UK government had lockdowns. They banned social gatherings like parties. But over at 10 Downing Street, it turns out that there were multiple social gatherings, including parties, including a birthday party for the Prime Minister himself. And he resides at 10 Downing Street. The British public is furious. The House of Commons is furious. I just played the audio of their anger for you. Even Johnson's party, his political party, is furious. Some members are already submitting letters to the party, and they've sent in letters for a vote of no confidence. And now there's a criminal investigation, right? Remember that violating the lockdown was against the law. So now the Met Police is saying that there's enough evidence to open an investigation into the happenings at 10 Downing Street last year. By the way, British prime ministers do not have immunity like Nigerian presidents or governors, so they can be investigated. The probe report is expected to come out next week. There's of course no timeline on the police investigation, but some Brits are saying that Boris Johnson should not wait. They want him to resign right now, just based on his own acknowledgement that these parties and gatherings happened and he attended them. In fact, they want his resignation based on his birthday party alone. And I wonder how you feel about that story. I want to know a few things from you, Lagos. Do you agree that Boris should resign? That's the first question. Second question, what do you think of a society where resignation is an option in a situation like this? Because you know the story. You're hearing the story for yourself. What do you think of a society where resignation is an option in a situation like this? Let me play you more footage from last week. I played it last week, but I'm sure that there are people who are listening to me for the first time today, right? So listen to this particular members of parliament saying this to Boris Johnson, to his face.
Like many on these benches, I spent weeks and months defending the Prime Minister against often angry constituents. I've reminded them of his success in delivering Brexit and on the vaccine and many other things. But I expect my leaders to shoulder the responsibility for the actions they take. Yesterday, he did the opposite of that. So I'll remind him of a quotation altogether too familiar to him of Leo Amery to Neville Chamberlain. You have sat there too long for all the good you have done. In the name of God, go.
And that was his party member saying that to him, a member of his political party saying that to him in Parliament. Lagos, let me hear your thoughts. 0700-993-993. What do you think of a society where resignation is an option in a situation like this? If you're a woman, call us on 01465 7190. 01465 There's WhatsApp. Yes, there is. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. We've got Facebook as well, where you can share your thoughts. Facebook is Nigeria Info 99.3. Nigeria Info 99.3. Let's start with Ikechukwu. Ikechukwu is in Otta Farm. I don't know how Ikechukwu does it. He's typically always the first one to call into the show. Welcome, Ikechukwu. Gozikwagi.
And I want to tell you, from now to Friday next week, Boris Johnson will resign.
Okay.
That is where constitution is working.
They don't have constitution.
Okay, they don't have anything constitution.
They don't have constitution.
So now, as I'm talking to you, as you will call me before Friday, say, Boris Johnson that I say he will resign, I've resigned. Secondly, concerning the Burkina Faso coup, I support the coup. Because they want to eradicate insurgents in their country, and their citizens are rejoicing for the coup.
You support the suspension of democracy?
No. When democracy is not thriving, like as Nigeria own is not thriving, unless until you don't want to say that truth, you have to say that Nigeria democracy is not thriving. That's when army should truncate the democracy and
No, you're saying that they should get rid. No, I understand it's your opinion. I'm telling you why your opinion is wrong-headed. Here's why. If you have a democracy where it is a government by the people, for the people, and you're saying, no, we want a dictatorship, which is what military governance often is, military governments often represent, I'm trying to see how that makes sense, how that is better.
Dictatorship in Nigeria, Babangida gave me mainland bridge.
And Obasanjo, and Abacha killed a lot of people to stay in power. What's your point? How do you know that the person that comes in is Babangida? And some people will also argue about Babangida's track record.
And they don't put what they find my mind. Allow me to talk now.
Talk now, and they argue with you.
democracy have never built any infrastructure.
That's not true. That's not true. The reason you can call me right now is democracy. The reason we're having this conversation live on radio to the ears of more than 1 million people who listen to Hard Facts is democracy.
I'm talking my own opinion, and you don't want me to talk.
I'm listening to your opinion, and I am debating it.
Allow me to talk before you go interject now.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Democracy gives me 26 million salary collection of Senate and 20 million salary collection of representative. 25% of Nigeria budget is from the National Assembly. What have they used?
So you can say that you don't like the kind of democracy we have and that we need to fix it. But you can't in one sentence say that, oh, I like the rule of law in the UK, and then now come and start saying, oh, it's good that the military has overturned rule of law in Burkina Faso. Pick a struggle.
He entered the party, he entered Owambe. When he locked down in England, that's why he resigned.
But that's democracy in action. Can you tell a military leader to resign because he entered Owambe? No, you cannot.
Okay, let me ask you that when democracy is not doing well, what do
you vote out? You can't say democracy is not doing well. You can say the people who are in charge, in a country are not doing well. What democracy allows you to do is vote them out. But when you have a military leader, if they're not doing well, you're stuck with them.
Thank you, Auntie.
Gozikwagi.
Since 1998 till now. Auntie, unless you don't want to tell the truth again for the second time. 200 million Nigeria bring the PVS or PVC. And we voted article. Did article win? Buhari did not win the election unless you don't want to tell yourself the truth.
I wonder if David is still on the line. Are you still there, David?
I am there.
All right. Thanks for calling. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yeah. You see, you can see that the police in UK is moving in to investigate the Prime Minister.
Right.
Can that ever happen in Nigeria? And why? I've been saying, you are putting too much power in the executive. Okay. They are holding the money, they are executing the project, the soldier is under there, the police is under there. Too much. Put police under the judiciary. Then coming to the ECOWAS, what do you call it? The ECOWAS issue we talk about. It is only when they ensure that there is good governance. This is the only thing they can do to stop coup coming up. Okay. And what I even want them to do is that they should even give the military chance that they should not even wait. When they should make a law so that any country that is not having good governance, the military will come in and correct it. Military is a corrective government.
Military is not a corrective. Sir, do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Myself?
Yes.
I'm over 59.
Okay, so that's why, because you saw the military a lot in your time. You've seen the military a lot in your time, and so that's why Nigerians who are in your age grade often look at military government with very rosy glasses. But military is not a corrective government. If anything, the fact that Nigeria had military leaders, for long periods of time, took us back in so many ways, through so many industries. No, you said that they are correct. No, I think, okay, explain. Because when you say military and corrective in the same sentence, no. Okay, explain. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
The military, the developed countries we are having today, the military that developed them.
That's not true.
We are all human beings. Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
Why they are corrective is that when a civilian government is doing wrong,
okay,
they just come, dissolve that administration, then they will do election to bring in people who are ready to work.
But that's the thing. In every
that's why they say they are corrective.
In all the developed nations, they've not had I'm talking about countries like America now, countries like the UK. They've not had a military government. It's always been civilian democracies for years. Hold on. For years, they've not had military anything. They've had civilian governments. And whenever they feel like this civilian government is not doing well, they kick them out of office. The only time that you see a military dictator in power in the West is when you have somebody trying to take over other countries of the West. Now, let's look at Nigeria. We've seen military intervene numerous times. Can we truly say that they improved the situation? Look at Gowon. Look at Murtala Mohammed. Did they improve on the First
Can
Republic?
I answer that question?
Yes.
That's why I said our military, instead of them coming to just do the correction within a year or at most 1.5 years, to conduct another election and bring in other civilians who are ready to work to carry on. Then we come and stick put. And now then we want to be going on with governance. Whereas they are not to govern.
Because power they sweet now. Who did they give power? We won't leave the power now.
What is wrong with Nigeria military?
But that's why we should always never, ever say, oh, let military come and correct. Because they never leave.
Yes, they have to correct them. Who will correct the civilians?
Civilians will correct themselves. Who are correcting? Who are correcting? No, Mr. David.
If you give the civilians all that power.
Mr. David, who is correcting? Who is correcting the civilians abroad? Are the civilians here animals?
Things are already developed. And that's what I told you from the beginning.
Okay.
It is the military that corrected them.
Okay, let's take a break. And I'm telling you that that's wrong. Military did not correct. If we're talking about civilized nations now, or sorry, not civilized now, developed nations now, and we're talking about Western nations, there was no military correction anywhere in their history. But we'll keep having that conversation when we come back from this break. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. If it's a Friday and it's 3 o'clock, we're taking a look at global stories.
The Big Three. Global edition on Hard Facts.
Mall of Fame Nigeria presents the E-Tourism Business Awards and Conference.
The E-Tourism Business Awards and Conference, the biggest tourism conference coming out of Africa, bringing together tourism stakeholders from around the world.
In the UK, now let's go to another coup in West Africa. This time it's in Burkina Faso. That's our second story. That's a story that has led me into arguments with two callers at least. I'm expecting more debates. We're warming up for I beg to differ. But anyways, before this, we've seen a coup in Guinea. We've seen 2 coups in Mali. So that's 4 coups in the last 17 months. We're going to get back to those. But first of all, let's take a look at what's happening in Burkina Faso. Earlier this month, protests were, there were protests in the capital, Ouagadougou, over insecurity. So both Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, they're very active in Burkina Faso. And there's been growing frustration with President Roch Marc-Kabore. Kabore is the president there. The people believe that he has not done enough to give the military the tools that it needs to fight the insurgents. So these protesters were calling for him to step down. Instead of that to happen, military forced him out. On Sunday, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henri Sandra Ogodamiba, I hope I pronounced that correctly, it's such a long name, led the coup. Kabore was arrested. He signed a resignation letter while in detention. Damiba has also dissolved parliament. He has dissolved the cabinet. He has dissolved the constitution. I don't know how people can think that that's a good thing. But anyways, staying on the story. Nigeria isn't having it. The foreign ministry has condemned the coup. They've demanded an immediate reinstatement of Kabore. The House of Reps has also condemned the coup, and they're calling on President Buhari to take action immediately. They want President Buhari to rally other countries and impose sanctions on Burkina Faso immediately. They also want Nigeria to send a message that going forward, coups will not be tolerated in West Africa. Like I said, we've had 4 of those in the last year. Last year and a half. ECOWAS leaders are meeting today, actually, to discuss a response to the coup. The African Union has already condemned it. French President Emmanuel Macron has also condemned the coup, and this is significant, right? Because France has a military presence in that country for counterinsurgency, but there's growing anti-France sentiment. In fact, after the coup, demonstrators who came out in support of the military were also chanting opposition to the French presence. They say that they want France out and they want Russia in. And I find that very interesting, because they seem to want to replace one European army with another one. Anyway, that's the situation in a nutshell, because I had to go into that second story because, I think people are interested in that a lot. But my question is what you think about Nigeria's reaction so far. How do you think ECOWAS should respond to this coup? Do you agree with the House of Reps that there is a worrying trend of coups in West Africa and that Nigeria, ECOWAS and the UN should stamp it out with very strong sanctions? Give me a call on 0700-993-993-993, 01465-7190. All right. You can also send us a message via WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. And there's Twitter where you can share your thoughts. Twitter is at Nigeria Info FM. And yes, you can still talk about that first story if you'd prefer. We've got Alex in Ikeja on the line. Hello, Alex.
Yeah, Sandra, how are you today?
I'm very well. Good to have you on the show.
Yes. Now, our people say something that if your neighbor does not trust you, it's not your neighbor's fault. Right?
Okay.
You don't instruct that people should not do the coup or they should do the coup.
Okay.
Something led to it happening.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's not the people you will... anyway, I summarized it in that first statement, right? If your neighbor does not trust you, it's not your neighbor's fault. Right? It's you who will know what to do about yourself.
Okay.
Let's leave that one there. On Boris Johnson.
Okay.
If a group of people, even if it's just some primary school children, have gathered to say, this is how we will behave, and they are making the march forward, they are advancing, and one of them decides to deviate, what should they do, really? It's only discipline that will make you not now apply the convention. I don't want to use the rule because somebody talked about constitution. No, in Britain, it's more about convention.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Good. So what do you expect those little kids to do? That is the level of discipline to which our leaders do not want to be held. That's why we are where we are today. You talk about the misbehavior of the police, you talk about the misbehavior of the customs, the media, all of them, even the ordinary public servants sitting in the secretariat. It's because somebody whose job it is to supervise them does not want to be held to the same standard or is afraid. That's why we find ourselves where we are. If we find a leader who is willing to be held to the same standard as the rest of us, everybody will fall in line. It's easy. It's easy, Sandra.
Alex, thank you for calling. We've got Great in Lekki on the line. Hi, Great.
Hello.
It's
Good
great to have
afternoon.
you on the show. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Yes, ma. I'm happy to. I want to contribute.
Yes,
to
please.
what is going on in Burkina Faso.
Go ahead.
I think it's for correcting the nations in the whole Africa. We need soldier because our leaders they don't have love at all. They don't love one another.
But soldier and a leader too now.
Exactly, but
so soldier get love.
no, some of them they have love more than our own people because we don't follow democracy. We don't follow it properly in Nigeria.
Okay.
We don't follow it properly.
But if we don't follow democracy well in Nigeria, is it not better that we just kick out the leaders that are not doing well and keep doing it over and over and over until we get it right? Instead of saying, oh yeah, soldier, we know they even care about rights at all. Oh yeah, can't take over.
Exactly. They will not allow you to get there. Before you get to that
Who will not allow you to get there?
Those leaders, let me tell you the fact. Before you get to that place.
No, but soldier too na leader now. Great. Oh yeah, see Africa. Yes, look, even Burkina Faso self. Compaoré was their military ruler in the 80s up until 2014, and he mismanaged the country. And now the same military who mismanaged the country for 3 decades, they are now back, and you are still saying they will do well.
Okay, let me say this. You know, there are citizens like this one more than. Because they say they don't give enough ammunition to soldiers to fight, right?
Okay.
Okay, now our own country, they want to intervene. Now our country, we have the same issue here in Nigeria that people don't even like our president.
Okay.
And he's saying something again, going to that place, fighting, standing on his own feet as if this country is doing well, that is going there to fight for us,
okay,
to fight for them.
Okay.
It should fight for your own sake. It should fight for this nation. House of Assembly should fight for themselves here in this country first before they talk of another place.
Okay. All right. Yes. Great. Thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm communicating. I don't know if I'm communicating, because you look at Nigeria's history, you look at the numerous military interventions that we have had. Can we truly say that they improved the situation? Did Gowon improve the situation? Did Murtala Mohammed improve the situation? Did Buhari, IBB, Abacha, their regimes, did they improve on the Second Republic? Did Gowon and Murtala improve on the First Republic? First Republic that we're always talking about all the time, with fondness and, First Republic, let's go back to First Republic. The people that truncated that one, did they do well? Did they do better? In the Second Republic with IBB and Buhari and Abacha, did they do better? Did they improve? If you see that time after time, in country after country, not just Nigeria, the military does not step aside after taking over, why do you still insist, they should come and correct? Because oftentimes they come and they don't correct. Like I spoke with my last caller there, and I gave him the example of this same Burkina Faso now. They had a military dictator that mismanaged the affairs of the country for more than 30 years. So, what is really the data that we're using to support this romance that, all the Nigerians have with the military? We've got Leonard on the line. Leonard is a first-time caller. Hi, Leonard.
Oh, I'm fine, ma.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Okay. So my own contribution is that the issue of coup is that I think it is a mathematical equation that has solution.
Okay.
The leaders have refused to do the right thing.
Okay.
Yes, democracy, all of us need democracy in one way or the other, because it gives us this is why we are talking on radio today, because of democracy.
Right.
But when the African leaders have abandoned the people, see, when you push someone to the wall, if there's no way for him to escape, he will turn around to fight you. That was exactly what happened to to coups going on up and down in Africa. We in Nigeria should not expect a different thing. If this government continues like this, one day will come when this kind of thing will befall us. And by then we will not begin to see that when a leader cannot do the right thing, and if a leader cannot obey the rule of law, then what do you expect from the people? All of us are here. We knew how we started, and we knew where we are today. So my own to them, to anybody, every leader in Africa, in West Africa, wherever is, look, follow the constitution of your country, do the right thing. Nobody will ask you out of your seat. So that is my own contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard, for calling. It's a first-time caller calling from command. Yes, follow the constitution of your country, do the right thing. But you realize that when the military comes in, there's no constitution that they're following anymore. Anything they decree, that is the law. You know that, right? So if they decree today that nobody should wear white shirt anymore, who cares about your right to wear a white shirt? It is no longer their business. It is now illegal because they have said it with mouth. Do you know the answer to, oh, we don't like what the leaders are doing? It is coming out in your numbers on election days and voting. Leaders will not be trying to buy your votes if your votes don't count. It is coming out on election day and voting. And before election day, you don't like that party members will go and have delegates and bribe the delegates and use the delegates to give one dubious person the party flag for the elections. Join the political parties. That's how developed countries did it. There is no developed country where they said military should come in and correct anything. None. Military did not take over and correct civilians in the US, in Canada, in the UK, in Sweden, in Norway, or Finland. Germany, that had a military dictator, had World War and disaster. It was democracy that returned prosperity to Germany. So if the goal really is we want to be like these Western nations, it should not even come into our minds at all. There is no conversation where we say, oh, it's better for the military to take over. None, zero. There's no situation that should call for that, period. What developed nations did to get it right was each one that comes in, if you do policies they don't like, if you do anyhow, you see anyhow on election day. And so you find that the politicians spend a lot of money trying to get voters to like them. They spend a lot of time trying to enact policies that keep the people happy enough that the people vote them in again and again and again. And the people do this in so many ways. They do it with protests. They do it with their votes. They do it in so many ways. Things that you cannot do in a military regime. And yes, you're about to call me now and you're about to say, but even now we can't even protest because army will shoot us, police will shoot us. Do you know why? Perhaps it's because you have the kind of leaders who do not believe that you have a right to protest. And what you should try to do is keep searching for until you find the kinds of leaders that tell you, yes, protests are your right. Go out and protest. The answer is not to say, no, military should come back. That's not the answer because they never leave. Whenever they come, they never leave. Because when they come, they have absolute power. They're not bound by the powers of the land. Anything they say is the law. Let me come back to the phone lines. 99.3. Hello. Hello. Are you there? Sorry about that. Call back if you can. 99.3. Hello.
You yourself, you can protest too, Sister Sandra. You can protest.
99.3. Hello.
Sandra.
Thanks for calling. What's your name?
My name is Azubike. I'm calling from Iloshoji.
Welcome, Azubike.
Coming to what you have just spoken about this leadership in Burkina Faso. Actually, what you have just said is true. What is happening in Nigeria here now is all about military dictatorship. Who is President Muhammad?
Oh, no. Call us back if you can. All right, let me bring you a final story, right? Our third story, incidentally, is the growing military tension along the Russia-Ukraine border. Russia is still sending more troops and military equipment to the border, and NATO countries are still sending the Ukraine more equipment and private military contractors. The US, NATO's leading country, says that it believes that a Russian invasion is imminent. But the Russians say that they have no intent to invade, not unless Ukraine or NATO provoke them. But NATO members are asking, well, why is Russia building up its military presence right next to a much weaker neighbor if invasion is not on the cards? The obvious answer is, of course, negotiation. Russia does not want Ukraine and other countries along its border joining NATO. If they were to join NATO, for instance, it would mean that NATO could set up military bases right across the border with missiles and tanks and troops, and this would give NATO an upper hand against Russia, right? And if a war breaks out, it means that Russia could be toast. Russia says that this is unacceptable for them. President Putin also believes that any NATO involvement in the Ukraine is an act of aggression. But NATO says Russia forced them to get more involved there by invading Ukraine in 2014 and annexing the Crimea region. Russia seems to believe that they can only play two cards to stop NATO. They can either threaten to invade Ukraine and threaten to reduce natural gas supply to Germany and other NATO members in Western Europe. In fact, Moscow sent a request to Washington, D.C. for an agreement about Ukraine's future. Joe Biden has rejected that agreement because it contains a promise that Ukraine will never be admitted into NATO. NATO as a whole has also rejected this deal, by the way. And as for the gas supply, Russia just completed a second pipeline to Germany, the Nord Stream 2. Because of Nord Stream 2, Germany has been reluctant to push for sanctions or other very strong action against Russia. But this week, Germany hinted that it would be willing to delay opening the pipeline. This is seen as a way to reverse the pressure back onto Russia's head. The question that everyone is asking is, will it work? Do you think that NATO and Russia can come to a permanent agreement about Ukraine and the other former Soviet republics on Russia's border? Will Russia invade, do you think? Women, call us on 01465-7190. Men, call us on 0700-993-993. You can talk about three of our stories. We've talked about Boris and the police investigating him there. He's not immune to investigations, police investigations. He doesn't have immunity like Nigerian leaders. Also, we talked about the coup in Burkina Faso. We talked about all the coups that have been happening in West Africa recently. And we talked about the AU and ECOWAS condemning it, and Nigeria, looking to sanction Burkina Faso. We're streaming live on Facebook, so let's hear your thoughts there as well. 99.3, hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Just Lokoye.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah. Concerning, I want to first of all talk about this Russia.
Okay.
I think these people are going to trigger World War III at this rate. Because Russia is a stubborn country. Okay. They can invade, and if they invade, US, the NATO forces will not look. They will join. Let's say they invade. What will happen at the end of the day? Is that not war?
Yes.
Wow, missile. At all those sophisticated weapons they start flying up and down.
Yes.
I pray they don't. US should leave these people. NATO should leave Ukraine alone. Because I guess these people, they want to conquer Russia. And US is always claiming to be world power. Yes, I think they are the world power. But Russia can still challenge them. So they want to have absolute power. So whatever they are doing, they should not go. The Ukraine should just...
Hello? Oh, sorry about that. Call back if you can. John Olatunji on Facebook says it is laughable hearing adults justifying military juntas. Should we call this forgetfulness or deliberate ignorance? I doubt Nigeria Info can survive a day if we are in the military regime. I don't know if I can still see that message or not. I've lost access to that message now. Let's talk to Obioma Odo. Hello, thanks for calling us.
Nigerian Info, is this good enough?
This is okay. I think we're talking to somebody else that isn't Obioma. I don't know who that is. But let me go to WhatsApp very quickly and look at the messages we have there. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. Hello, Sandra. It would have been easy for the people to kick out African leaders during elections. But how safe has the African leaders made their environments to enable people to exercise this right? Most people will support a military takeover because it gives them this sense of power in taking back their government by proxy. Nobody likes military interventions in situations as this, but if they can help oust their present oppressor, they'll gladly embrace it. You didn't leave your name, but thank you very much. And I'll keep saying again that the reason that a lot of elections all over Africa are marred by violence is that a lot of people do not come out, on election day to try to vote or things like that, because again, there's strength in numbers. If there were lots of people out there on election day trying to vote, it would be very difficult for anybody to use violence and chase you away. Because how many people you go chase come out? I always use the example of the Yoruba Nation rally. They tried and tried and tried, but because the numbers were immense, they could just left them to continue their rally. We've got Obioma back on the line now. Obioma, how are you?
I'm good, Sandra. How are you today?
Very well. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah. Sandra, talking about military coups in Africa, I think it's 50-50. Depends on the device where you want to argue from.
Okay.
For example, if you argue that when military take over, they suspend constitution, I can equally argue with you that constitution is not working in Nigeria because there is no rule of law. The government in power is not obeying court orders. That is number one.
So there's a difference between they're not obeying court order and constitution is not working. The reason that courts are making certain orders is because there's a constitution to rely on for those orders to come to bear to begin with. Are you there? We seem to have lost connection to Obioma there. Sorry about that. Call back if you can. We've got Kunle from Oba who says, Sandra, what I've observed is that the military often starts well but derails when they stay too long, whereas the politicians, especially in Africa, start their misrule from the first day. Kunle with that message there. Sandra, the military steals as well as the politicians. The difference is that the military will still embark on developmental projects that the politicians won't. All major developments that has happened in Nigeria were done by the military. Politicians have been in power longer than the military, and we still can't see any meaningful development or say. This is one of those things that you know what? We're going to make this thing a topic. I'm going to get approval from my editorial board and we'll make this thing a topic, because that comment I just read now is something that we throw around quite a lot, but it's simply not true. It's simply not true. So we're going to look at every military dictator that has ever ruled this country, and we'll take a look at their track record, and then we'll take a look at the track records of the civilian leaders that we've had since 1960, and then we'll really judge, when we've been better off. Because we don't look at these things within context, to be very, very honest. I wish I had more time to continue this conversation, but I do not. Oh, God. Where does the time go? But hey, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Thank you for having this conversation with us on 99.3 Nigeria Info. You can find me online if you want to keep talking. Let's keep the conversation going on Sandra Ezekwesili. That's my social media handle. Ezekwesili everywhere. Ezekwesili everywhere. I'll be back on Monday with the big weekend, as well as Madam Landlord and the big hard fact. Those were hard facts. Good night.
My people, no be only new clothes they make this season sweet. Na collabo they make jollof. They full